Here's something most fans never knew. The kid who gave us "What you talking about, Willis?", the most quoted catchphrase in sitcom history, was never supposed to be on Diff'rent Strokes at all. A talent scout spotted a 10-year-old in a Chicago bank commercial, cast him for a Little Rascals reboot that never made it to air, and one failed pilot later, television history was born. But that secret is just the beginning. Stay with me all the way to number 1, because what that little boy did at the peak of his fame will absolutely floor you. But before we count down, I need you to do something for me. Tell me honestly, who were you sitting next to on the living room floor when that unforgettable theme song came on? Was it your big brother, your little sister, your best friend from down the street? Drop a quick comment below. I absolutely love reading your memories. All right, let's take it all the way back. 8 beloved faces, 1 family we never forgot. This is the cast of Diff'rent Strokes, then and now, 2026. Mini teaser. You remember the red-haired kid who showed up in season 6 and suddenly became Arnold's little brother? Well, wait until you hear what he did after the show ended. If you watched the later seasons of Diff'rent Strokes, you absolutely remember this face. Danny Cooksey joined the Drummond family in 1984 as Sam McKinney, the son of Philip Drummond's new wife, Maggie. He was just 8 years old when he walked onto that set, and audiences instantly fell in love with his energy. But get this, before Diff'rent Strokes ever called little Danny and his mom had packed up their lives in Moore, Oklahoma and moved all the way to Los Angeles, not for acting, for country music. This kid wanted to be a country singer. Instead, he landed an audition for one of the biggest sitcoms on television, and the rest just happened. Now, after the show wrapped in '86, Danny did something nobody saw coming. In 1991, he showed up on the big screen as Tim John Connor's buddy in Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Yes, that red-haired kid cracking jokes next to Edward Furlong, that was little Sam McKinney, all grown up. And then this is the part that gets me. At just 16 years old, Danny became the lead singer of a heavy metal band called Bad for Good. And who formed the band and produced their album? Guitar legend Steve Vai. Their album, Refugee, dropped on Interscope Records in 1992, and the band even toured as the opening act for the supergroup Damn Yankees. Today, Danny Cooksey is 50 years old, and he has quietly built one of the most incredible voice acting careers in the business. If your kids grew up watching Tiny Toon Adventures, that was Danny voicing Montana Max. Shaolin Showdown, he was Jack Spicer. And 90s Nickelodeon kids, you know him as Bobby Budnick from Salute Your Shorts. From a country music kid in Oklahoma, to Arnold's little brother, to a teenage heavy metal frontman, to one of Hollywood's most versatile voice actors, Sam McKinney did just fine. Mini teaser. She was the 3rd housekeeper to walk through the Drummond front door, and for millions of kids born after 1999, her voice became one of the most recognizable sounds in all of animation. After Mrs. Garrett left for the Eastland School and Adelaide moved on, somebody had to keep that Drummond penthouse running. Enter Pearl Gallagher, played by the wonderful Jo Catlett. She first appeared as a recurring character and eventually became a full member of the main cast, holding down the fort from season 5 all the way to the final episode in 1986. Long before she ever set foot on the Diff'rent Strokes set, she was already a Broadway star. In 1964, 14 years before Diff'rent Strokes even premiered, Jo originated the role of Ernestina in the original Broadway production of Hello, Dolly. She was performing alongside Carol Channing while most of the Diff'rent Strokes cast hadn't even been born yet. And now the fact that will absolutely get you. If you have children, grandchildren, or even great-grandchildren, they know Jo Catlett's voice. Because since 1999, Jo has been the voice of Mrs. Puff on SpongeBob SquarePants. Every single season, every single movie, for more than 25 years and counting. Today, Jo Catlett is 87 years old and still going strong. Broadway in the 60s. the Drummond penthouse in the 80s, Bikini Bottom from the 90s until right now. That is one extraordinary career. Curiosity Bridge. Coming up next, a woman who dreamed of singing opera as a child until a surgery at age 7 changed everything. She walked into the Drummond household, married Philip Drummond, and then walked straight into one of the most iconic roles in television history. You definitely know who I'm talking about. She dreamed of singing opera on the world's greatest stages. A surgeon's mistake at age 7 took that dream away forever. But what she built instead, extraordinary. When Diff'rent Strokes needed a love interest for Philip Drummond in the middle of season 6, they brought in someone truly special. Dixie Carter arrived in February 1984 as Maggie McKinney, a television aerobics instructor with southern charm to spare. Philip fell head over heels, proposed, and just like that, the Drummond family had a new mom. Now Dixie herself was a woman of quiet fire. Born in the tiny town of Macklemoresville, Tennessee, she decided at 4 years old that she would become an opera singer. She studied classical music, learned piano, trumpet, and harmonica. But at 7, a botched tonsillectomy damaged her voice, and the opera dream was gone. Most people would have stopped right there. Dixie Carter simply found another stage. She moved to New York, built a career on Broadway, and when Hollywood came calling, she answered. First with the soap opera The Edge of Night, then sitcoms, and finally that memorable turn as the Drummond family's new matriarch. After her run on Diff'rent Strokes across seasons 6 and 7, Dixie stepped into the role she was born to play, Julia Sugarbaker on Designing Women. CBS 1986 to 1993. 7 magnificent seasons. That sharp tongue, that unbreakable southern dignity, Julia Sugarbaker became one of the most beloved female characters in television. And on that set, life imitated art in the most beautiful way. Her real-life husband, stage legend Hal Holbrook, joined the show in a recurring role. A real married couple playing love interests on one of America's favorite sitcoms. Years later, Dixie earned an Emmy nomination in 2007 for her guest role as Gloria Hodge on Desperate Housewives. Dixie Carter left us in April of 2010 at the age of 70. But every time someone stands up and speaks their mind with grace, fire, and a southern accent, Julia Sugarbaker lives on. Mini teaser. She was the woman every kid in America wished was their housekeeper. And behind that warm, unflappable smile was a life story that would move you to tears. Let me ask you something. When you think of Diff'rent Strokes, who is the very first face that makes you feel safe? For millions of us, the answer is the same. Mrs. Garrett. Edna Garrett. The housekeeper with a heart bigger than that entire Park Avenue penthouse. Charlotte Rae played Mrs. Garrett during the first season and the first half of season 2, and audiences loved her so much that the producers did something extraordinary. They gave her an entire show of her own. The Facts of Life premiered in 1979, and Charlotte starred as the house mother at the Eastland School for 7 seasons. She became the mother figure for an entire generation. Born Charlotte Rae Lubotsky in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, she attended Northwestern University, and this is where the story gets wonderful. Her college classmate and closest friend, Cloris Leachman, the two women became lifelong friends, and in one of television's sweetest full-circle moments, when Charlotte eventually left The Facts of Life, it was Cloris Leachman who stepped in to replace her. And here is a detail that still gives me chills. Charlotte's mother, Esther Lubotsky, was a childhood friend of Golda Meir, the future Prime Minister of Israel. Both families grew up in the same Milwaukee neighborhood. Charlotte was also a 2-time Tony Award nominee on Broadway and received an Emmy nomination in 1982 for The Facts of Life. In 2015, she co-wrote her memoir, The Facts of My Life, with her son Larry Strauss, a deeply personal book about raising a son with autism, navigating heartbreak, and finding strength through it all. Charlotte Rae left us in August of 2018, at the age of 92, 66 years in front of audiences. a life that made everyone around her feel like they belonged. Now I know what some of you are thinking right now. Mrs. Garrett, that warm face, that gentle voice. How many of you secretly wished she was your housekeeper growing up, or your house mother, your neighbor, your aunt, anyone, as long as she was in your life? Tell me in the comments below. Don't be shy. I already know the answer. Curiosity Bridge. All right, keep your tissues close, because coming up, two names that every single Diff'rent Strokes fan holds in their heart. The beloved father, who was the only character to appear in every single episode, and the bright-eyed daughter, whose talent lit up our screens before life took a different turn. Mini teaser. Before she ever stepped in front of a camera, she was a gifted figure skater with Olympic dreams. At 13, she faced a choice that would change her life forever. There are some performers who light up a screen the moment they appear. Dana Plato was one of them. As Kimberly Drummond Phillips' teenage daughter and the big sister to Arnold and Willis, she brought warmth, humor, and a sweetness that made the Drummond family feel complete. Before Hollywood, Dana was chasing a completely different dream. Growing up in the San Fernando Valley, she trained seriously as a figure skater. And when she was just 13 years old, she faced one of those crossroads that changes everything. Try out for the United States Olympic figure skating team, or accept a role in a brand new television sitcom. She chose the sitcom. Can you imagine being 13 and having to make that choice? Even before Diff'rent Strokes, Dana's talent was undeniable. At just 11, she appeared in the television film Beyond the Bermuda Triangle in 1975. She followed that with a role in the Oscar-winning California Suite in 1978, the same year Diff'rent Strokes premiered. This was a young actress already building something special before Arnold Jackson ever said his first, "What you talking about?" Dana left us in May of 1999. She was just 34 years old. We will honor her properly in our tribute a little later, because her light deserves its own moment. Mini teaser. He was a World War II veteran, a classically trained stage actor, and the man who held that entire television family together for 8 seasons. There is only one, Philip Drummond. Think about this. 189 episodes, 8 seasons, and there is exactly one character who appeared in every single one. Not Arnold, not Willis, not Kimberly. It was Philip Drummond, the heart, the conscience, the anchor of the entire show. And the man who brought him to life was Conrad Bain. Conrad's story begins far from Hollywood. Born in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada in 1923, he grew up playing ice hockey and speed skating before discovering acting in high school. He trained at the Banff School of Fine Arts, then served in the Canadian Army during World War II. After the war, he crossed the border, studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, and built a stage career that most actors only dream about. Broadway, The Iceman Cometh, Candide, Uncle Vanya. And then came a film career that most fans never knew about. Conrad appeared alongside Woody Allen in Bananas in 1971. That same year, Sean Connery in The Anderson Tapes. Years later, Meryl Streep in Postcards from the Edge in 1990. But to America, he was, and always will be, Mr. Drummond. Before Diff'rent Strokes, Conrad had already won audiences over as Dr. Arthur Harmon on Maude, alongside B. Arthur from 1972 to 1978. 6 full seasons that perfectly set up his second iconic role. And here is my absolute favorite piece of trivia about this man. Conrad Bain had an identical twin brother named Bona Bain, also an actor. In one legendary episode of Maude, Bona played the evil twin of Conrad's character. 2 real-life identical twins playing fictional identical twins on network television. How has that story never been a movie? Conrad and Gary Coleman reprised their roles together one final time in 1996, appearing in the series finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as Philip and Arnold considering buying the Banks mansion. One of Conrad's very last appearances on camera, and what a way to close the chapter. Conrad Bain left us in January of 2013 at the age of 89, just 3 weeks before his 90th birthday. A veteran, a stage actor, a film actor, and the greatest TV dad a generation ever knew. Curiosity Bridge. We are almost there. Just 2 spots remain. At number 2, the young man who stood right beside Arnold Jackson for 8 seasons, who fought through everything and who is still here today. And at number 1, the heart and soul of this show, the legend himself. Stay with me. Mini teaser. He was one of the very first African-American child actors to land a recurring role on primetime television. And after everything life put him through, he is still here, still acting, still fighting, still standing tall. Before there was Willis Jackson, there was a 6-year-old kid in San Francisco sitting in front of the television watching Red Fox on Sanford and Son. That little boy pointed at the screen, looked at his mother, and said, "I want to do that." His mother, Betty Alice Bridges, didn't just encourage him, she built an entire career around that moment, eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most respected managers and acting coaches, guiding the early careers of Nia Long and Regina King. Todd moved fast. His first job, a Jell-O commercial starring the entire Bridges family. By 1977, at just 12, he had already appeared in the landmark miniseries Roots, guest starred on Little House on the Prairie in a powerful episode called The Wisdom of Solomon, and landed a recurring role on The Waltons. He also became a series regular on Fish, the Barney Miller spin-off starring Abe Vigoda. When producer Norman Lear was assembling the cast for Diff'rent Strokes, Todd was the natural choice for the older brother. Willis Jackson walked onto our screens in 1978, and for 8 seasons, he was the cool big brother every kid wished they had. After the show ended, Todd's path took some hard turns, but Todd Bridges never stopped fighting. In 2010, he published his memoir, Killing Willis, a deeply honest book about his struggles and his long road back. His defense attorney during one of the most difficult chapters of his life, the legendary Johnny Cochran. And Todd kept working. He played the recurring character Monk on Everybody Hates Chris from 2007 to 2009. In 2024, he came right back to voice that same character in the animated Everybody Still Hates Chris on Comedy Central. Now here is something that tells you everything about who Todd Bridges really is. In 1998, Todd and his brother Jimmy were out fishing when they saw a woman named Stella Klein. Her wheelchair had rolled into a lake. Without hesitating, both brothers jumped in and saved her life. No cameras, no headlines, just 2 brothers doing the right thing. Todd is also a black belt in karate, because of course he is. Today, Todd Anthony Bridges is 61 years old, still acting, still telling his story, still showing up. After the passing of Charlotte Rae in 2018, Todd became the last surviving member of the original main cast of Diff'rent Strokes, the last one standing, and standing strong. 61 years old, and that smile still has Willis written all over it. Mini teaser. I promised you at the very beginning of this video that the story of our number 1 would floor you. Let me keep that promise. Remember what I told you in the first 20 seconds. A talent scout was hunting for kids to star in a Little Rascals reboot. He spotted a 10-year-old in a Chicago bank commercial, a tiny kid with enormous eyes and comedic timing that defied his age. That pilot never made it to air, but Norman Lear saw something in that boy. Instead of letting him go, Lear built an entirely new show around him. That boy was Gary Wayne Coleman, born February 8, 1968, in Zion, Illinois, and the show was Diff'rent Strokes. From the very first episode in 1978, Gary Coleman owned that screen. Arnold Jackson wasn't just a character, he was a force of nature. That impeccable timing, that mischievous grin, and that voice, delivering the line that would echo through living rooms for decades. "What you talking about, Willis?" America fell in love. Completely. Gary won the People's Choice Award for Favorite Young TV Performer 4 years in a row, 1980 through 1983. 4 consecutive years. No other young performer had done that before. And at the absolute peak of his fame, Gary Coleman did something that still stops me cold. He formed his own production company, Gary Coleman Productions. He was 10 years old, running a production company, earning $100,000 per episode. In the early 1980s, I have to stop here for a second, because every time I research a child star from this era, the story usually breaks my heart. But this part, a 10-year-old running his own company, winning awards 4 years straight, this part just makes me proud. And then in 2003, Gary reminded the world he was still full of surprises. He entered the California gubernatorial recall election as one of 135 candidates running against Arnold Schwarzenegger, among others. He finished 8th, earning 14,235 votes. When asked why he ran, Gary just smiled and said, "California is the entertainment capital of the world. Why should Italy have all the fun?" That was Gary. Fearless, funny, completely unapologetically himself. Gary Coleman said goodbye on May 28, 2010. He was 42 years old. He was, is, and will always be Arnold Jackson, the soul of Diff'rent Strokes, the kid who made an entire generation smile. Before we go, I need to ask you to take a quiet moment with me, because this family, our family, lost 4 of its own. They deserve to be remembered, not for how they left, but for the joy they brought while they were here. I'll be honest with you, this was the hardest part of this video to write. Dana Plato, her final chapter. She was 13 years old when she chose Diff'rent Strokes over Olympic figure skating tryouts. She lit up every scene as Kimberly Drummond, the big sister, with the bright eyes and the easy laugh. She appeared on screen at just 11 in Beyond the Bermuda Triangle and starred in the Oscar-winning California Suite the same year Diff'rent Strokes premiered. In May of 1999, Dana was taken from this world at just 34 years old. Her castmate, Danny Cooksey, who shared the same birthday month and grew close to her on set, was one of the pallbearers who carried her home. She was loved, deeply loved. Dixie Carter, her final chapter. The little girl from McLemoresville, Tennessee, who dreamed of opera and found something even greater, a career that lit up Broadway, primetime television, and 7 iconic seasons as Julia Sugarbaker. She brought Southern grace and fire to the Drummond household as Maggie McKinney. In April of 2010, Dixie took her final bow at the age of 70. Her presence was unforgettable. Gary Coleman, his final chapter. The boy from Zion, Illinois, who turned a failed pilot into the most beloved catchphrase in sitcom history. 4 People's Choice Awards, a production company at age 10, a spirit that brought pure joy to millions of homes every single week. In May of 2010, just weeks after we lost Dixie, Gary took his final bow at the age of 42. He was the heartbeat of Diff'rent Strokes, and that heartbeat echoes still. Conrad Bain, his final chapter. A World War II veteran from the Canadian prairies who became Broadway's finest character actor, then gave us 6 seasons on Maude, and finally 8 seasons as the one and only Philip Drummond. The only character to appear in every single episode, the father who opened his penthouse doors and his heart to 2 boys who needed him. In January of 2013, Conrad took his final bow at 89, just 3 weeks before his 90th birthday. He was the father we all wished we had. Dana, Dixie, Gary, Conrad. 4 beautiful souls, gone from this world but never gone from ours. We carry them in the reruns, in the catchphrases, in every smile their faces still bring us whenever we hear that theme song one more time. And so here we are, you and I, at the end of another journey through time. You know what stays with me? A show built on one simple idea, that love doesn't care about the color of your skin, the size of your wallet, or where you come from, still matters. Right now, in 2026, maybe more than ever. 8 faces, 8 lives. Some still here doing extraordinary things. Some watching from somewhere we can't see. All of them gave us something we didn't even know we needed. A place to belong. Every week in front of that glowing screen. So here's what I want to know. And I mean really know. Because I read every single comment on these videos. Which of these 8 stories surprised you the most today? Was it Danny Cooksey fronting a heavy metal band produced by Steve Vai, Mary Jo Catlett voicing Mrs. Puff for 25 years, Todd Bridges becoming the last surviving original cast member, and one more. If you could go back just one evening and sit on that old sofa next to the people you loved most, with Diff'rent Strokes on the TV, and nowhere else in the world you needed to be, who would be sitting next to you? Share your story below. I'm not just saying that. I read every single one. Your memories are the reason this channel exists. If this video brought back something you thought you'd forgotten, hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you never miss another trip down memory lane. And share this with someone who used to watch Diff'rent Strokes with you. They'll thank you for it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for remembering. I'll see you in the next one.